kind of like a haphazard class. Oh my God. Is it better when you see it or when you don't? Oh, don't do that. It's completely invisible. It's almost like it doesn't exist, and then all of a sudden it does. Would you rather see me with a wand? Back in college, I took this Madonna horror class. It was based off of the Madonna through history versus Mary Magdalene the whore. So we have Mother Mary, and then we have Mary Magdalene, and how they were depicted throughout history and art, and how you could see them throughout their different colors. And Mother Mary was always super elevated. She was like the enlightened virgin. And Mary Magdalene was always draped in red, like she was less than. So we have that Gebra versus the Hesed energy coming through a lot, which is kind of odd. When we talk about Lilith, anytime we talk about Lilith or Isis or Kali, we're talking about Mary Magdalene as well, because we're talking about the deep femme and sexual energy throughout history. Now, in this Madonna horror class, we're going through the archetypal ascent of a female's journey into and through society, using sexuality to social climb or to climb her DNA. We're now going to bring up like all of Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice, just the idea of like Emma. And so using what you have, just the idea of Anne Boleyn, okay? I am a poor person and I get King Henry to divorce his wife, and I seduce him so I can elevate myself through marriage. It ends up where my head gets chopped off, but still that is better in the long run outcome than continuing to circle the poor, homeless, always distraught, patriarchal society. Still, like, you're still being ruled by men, even though you haven't somehow found a way to elevate yourself. Can I say that again? You're still being controlled by men, even if you haven't found a way to elevate yourself. Let me say that again. You're still being controlled by men, even if you have not found a way to elevate yourself. Okay, so a Ravenclaw will understand and calculate, so we are here at Hesed, to Hokmah, that no matter what, we're going to elevate. Period. Now, the idea that you're going to elevate through a Mother Mary archetype is very slim. Because I'm virginal compared to my friends. And I'm Lilith. And I'm virginal in a sacred soulmate kind of way. And I'm Lilith. So, like, Mother Mary is like a fallacy. When you think of the house of Lilith, the next closest god, the next closest female god on this planet is Madonna. She's not the Mother Mary Madonna. She's the Mary Magdalene Madonna. And Madonna is the house of Lilith. Let me say that again. Madonna is the house of Lilith. Female empowerment, deep, dark sexuality to rise through power, with power, through society, and climb to freedom. Not to insanity. Okay. So the name of this class is this. Daenerys Targaryen and the Madonna Whore. On Mother Mary and Ravenclaw work. If you have not watched the Empty Vase class, then you're in for a surprise. Sometimes the information in these classes fold and compound, and they make them more digestible, or you have a greater appreciation for what's being said or the stories that are delivered based off of connections from the other classes. One day, in the last year, one evening, Simon was putting together a presentation about Madonna versus Michael Jackson. Simon's a very, very big Black Lives Matter advocate. And he goes to say, so I'm not allowed to be a female advocate. Mine is taken off the table. It doesn't matter if Michael Jackson was a rapist. But let me say this again. I'm not allowed to be a female advocate. Mine was wiped off the table. And it doesn't matter that Michael Jackson was a rapist. The end result was a conversation where Simon was shoving down my throat. Nothing about Madonna is intelligent or good. Direct quotes. It does not matter that she defined the entire entertainment industry almost single-handedly through the 80s and 90s. It doesn't matter that she gave women the strongest voice almost on the planet. People like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera model and mimic Madonna's behavior in their work to rise. Beyonce is a Black Madonna. With a little more elevated, like, anti-sex angst. Yeah. So there's a difference between that grunge, goth, Lilith vibe versus Beyonce vibe, but still. Nothing about Madonna is intelligent or good. Nothing. He literally reduced Madonna's entire existence to the empty vase. Madonna's entire body of work to Monica's empty vase poem. This is coming as I was cleaning out the clipit, and I was cleaning out sexual assault energy and rape and pedophilia energy and stabbing energy and everything. Nothing about Madonna is intelligent or good. Nothing. Okay. Is that clicking? Literally nothing about her, verbatim, is intelligent or good. Point blank fact. This man went to Eton, Oxford, and Cambridge, and claims to be a feminist. A highly elevated, erudite, elite, intellectual, left-wing feminist. So we were downloading the House of Raziel protocols because Daenerys Targaryen is basically my niece. Her mirror prism includes Daenerys, and that's actually her reincarnation name. She is Black Widow, Kiki, and Daenerys Targaryen. That's her mirror prism character. She is also Scarlett Johansson and Lucy, and in the Alien movie Under Her Skin. Do you see how that's still Black Widow? All right. So we're downloading the House of Raziel protocols because I am moving to Ravenclaw. And my 10-year-old niece, is going to sit on the Gaebera throne. And I need to give her the appropriate legal paperwork to be able to anchor in the Gaebera on the planet. The head or the seat of the Iron Throne is verbatim the head of Gaebera or Gryffindor or the Seraphim. Point blank. And she is just strong enough to actually anchor and hold that. As a female, she was either the third or fourth across the abyss in the spiritual world through the clipit. All right, so she's highly elevated and evolved. She's Archangel Raziel. And they have their own house in Gaebera called the House of Raziel, legal. And what it means is, I know all the legal ways to murder you in self-defense. Let me say that again. I know all the legal, actually, evidently legal ways of murdering you in self-defense. So we ended this whole Daenerys takes the throne episode with my nieces taking the name Lilith after their name Archangel Haniel. It was Archangel Haniel, Lilith. Archangel Raziel, Lilith. As a honor or ode to being a woman. To taking the female seat, to taking the female archangel seat versus the male archangel seat. Now, when I was typing this out throughout the last couple of months, Kelly came through and goes, I know when you say Archangel Zodkiel, comma, F, it's just F, 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 and it's the same as Archangel Zodkiel, comma, Lilith, and they're the same. Let me say that again. When you say Archangel Zodkiel Lilith, it's definitely Archangel Zodkiel, comma, F, 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 F. Let me do that again. Because Archangel Haniel is Elsa, and she does this. And when she does this, it's her magic coming through her spirit fingers, and it creates F. So no matter what we do, no matter what we say, no matter what we do, we could literally give our lives for infinity, and everything is still just F. It doesn't matter how white light we are, how no vice paperwork we are. It doesn't matter if we're the perfect genome species. Literally, the response mentally and emotionally from anybody on the outside is definitely F. 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 No matter what. It doesn't matter if we're making Fabergé eggs. The fact that you're making a Fabergé egg, F. You're the head of Vogue, F. You're Madonna, F. You're Jennifer Aniston, F. Oh no, you're not Jennifer Aniston, you're Angelina Jolie, F. You're the opposite. You're Hermione Granger, F. You're Ginny Weasley instead of Hermione Granger, definitely F. No matter what, it's F. There is nothing more empowering than that in life. Just nothing. Daenerys Targaryen, F. So when you know literally, point blank verbatim, it doesn't matter if you're RAAVA, the great spirit of white light, you're F. So if you're Mother Mary, literally, the Virgin Mary, still F. There is nothing about Madonna that is intelligent or good. Point blank, verbatim. And I watched Simon. I watched Simon exit the room, and I turned on the Power of Goodbye song. And I go, there is nothing on the planet that's better than Madonna and this Power of Goodbye song. And that's our beginning. Welcome to Daenerys Targaryen and the Madonna horror class. So if you haven't watched all the Game of Thrones, there's almost nothing I can do or share or give to you at this current juncture. Every single nuance, every single reference is literally gonna be completely absorbed in Game of Thrones and the lens of Daenerys Targaryen. So you might want to pause this video, F. Yeah. So right now, I'm F. Not you for not having watched Game of Thrones. You're never gonna get it by reading the articles about Game of Thrones. You're never gonna get the Cliff Notes. It was an emotional journey for every woman on the planet. Daenerys Targaryen's rise to power was this ascent through society for anyone who's better than their current circumstance. Let me say that again. Anyone who's physically, emotionally, mentally, and/or spiritually better than the current poverty scenario that they're dwelling in. All right, let's begin. Daenerys, at the end of the series, was now the rancid Nazi Machiavellian tyrant that is now only trying to seek and take over the infinity, and she is a crazy nut job. Man, would it be better if you could see the knife going slamming into the table. What happened was she decided to burn down all of King's Landing. Let me say that again. She Dracarys'd the entire city instead of just Katnissing Cersei and then taking over. Let me say that again. Instead of killing the queen, the current seat, the only person in King's Landing that was guilty or bad, she decided to wipe out the entire city. And for this, she was the Antichrist. It doesn't matter that she had a history, a track record history of some of the most wisest, most intelligible choices that she could have made before her for 20 years. 20 years. She was about 20 years old. It does not matter her track record. It was only that it was so... How could you burn down one innocent child that was in King's Landing? And for that, Daenerys Targaryen was the Antichrist. Okay. There were people that were so into the emotional journey of Daenerys, or Khaleesi. They named their children or their daughters Khaleesi. Let me say that again. They loved her so much throughout the 7 years prior, they named their own daughter Khaleesi. What Khaleesi did at the end of Game of Thrones was so off-putting, so over their heads, they now completely 180'd and decided to stab Khaleesi in the gut. Except except for a few of the intelligent women on the planet, maybe some intelligent guys too, that go, Drogon's gonna take her for resurrection. Because she was like the archangel. King's Landing was infested with gang rapists, the sex slave trade, drug addicts and alcoholics, enemy ambushes at different locations, enemy bombs and traps at different locations, weapons against her dragon at multiple and different locations. In every crevice, there was a soldier hiding for ambush just to shoot her dragon down. Not to mention, okay, so baseline war, military strategic, would be to wipe clean the entire city. And every single male general, commander, whatever, like any single authority in a military ranking position would have made a generally similar decision as killing everybody in the city with a bomb. In today's world, every single one of them, knowing what would ensue after they invaded, the disposition of human thought is they do not think into step 2 or 3 of their mental analysis or judgment. So had Khaleesi only taken out Cersei, she would have lost half of her men and probably her dragon would have been slain. Based off of the past history, their current numbers, their level of desperation and exhaustion, in the art of war suggests that Khaleesi was 100% accurate. Go in for a fast strike and take everybody out. Yes. The general populace decided to twist this understanding and make her into the Antichrist, because she thought her soldiers were more important than the sex slave trade dealers. Let's talk about the real world scenario. You are in a city infested with disease, poverty. There's urine and piss and shit and blood all over the streets. You are basically living off of a roll a day, maybe some rice. You have nothing. You are offered almost no education. And you are forced into prostitution, or you're sold into sex slavery. Let's say that again. Let's offer option A, where you're a prostitute, and then you have a child that you're also supporting, and you're a prostitute, okay? So that's option A, and then option B is you're a sex slave, because that's the real scenario of where Daenerys Targaryen was. And Daenerys ventures upon your city with her dragon and tells everybody to leave. Historically, you know, she burns down entire cities or buildings with people. She has very little her words matter. Her actions suggest she has little regret in burning down a population of 5,000. So knowing this, when she ventures upon your city and enters your gates or arrives at your gates, you might think it's time to leave. If you're a prostitute, right? If you're the prostitute and you have a child and you know Daenerys Targaryen and you haven't even a hint of intelligence, a hint? You haven't seen her pattern behavior over, or you haven't heard about it? You have a hint of intelligence. You see the dragon. It's massive. Its wingspan, like, creates wind at 50 miles an hour. And it smells like rancid, toxic gas because it's breathing dragon fire, or has it close to you. So you can feel it, and you can feel the earthquake and shake as the dragon lands on the planet. And your brain does not compute to leave the city. Knowing she's gonna burn it down, or even part of it down. Wow, the mental framing of Game of Thrones is actually sick. So she shows up at the gates with her dragon, and you're a prostitute, and you have a hint of a thought, and you might just leave. And if you can't leave, it's because you're a hostage. So the next day, Daenerys shows up and burns everybody down. Everybody. Now, if you're the sex slave, you think Daenerys is God. If you're a hostage, you think she's probably Mother Mary. If you were so dumb you could not compute to leave this city, now let's talk about the secondary standpoint. Daenerys did this to another city called Marine. First, she went in and she freed all the little people, and she killed all the mean, corrupt bad guys. She basically did a Genghis Khan. She killed all the elite to rule the normal people. That's what Genghis Khan's whole strategy was. If I take out the echelon of society that thinks they have power and that are gonna try to kill me, if I take them out and I just rule the little people, everything will be okay. She tried it, and she learned that she was not yet sufficient in her own military strategy and her own boundary awareness, and how many cities she hadn't conquered yet. Let me say that again. Because the outside cities also continued to have that upper echelon of society, and they would still come in to ambush her. So if she killed out the masters in this city, she would still attract all the masters in other cities to come in and then stab her also. That's Daenerys. Man. So that was Meereen. It ended up being where Drogon had to literally kidnap Daenerys out of Meereen and take her outside of the city and rescue her while he got stabbed 500 times himself. That was her dragon. So she understands exactly what happened at Meereen and knows for a fact it would happen at King's Landing too. Let me say that again. What happened at Meereen was going to happen at King's Landing. And just from that level of knowledge, just from that baseline level of knowledge, it would only be logical to take out the whole city. Knowing how many soldiers she lost because of her naivety in Meereen. The whores and the prostitutes that would counsel her soldiers and love on her soldiers ended up assassinating her soldiers. And she was there to free them and take care of them. So that would happen at King's Landing. There was no evidence that it wouldn't happen at King's Landing. Only the contrary. So let's talk about the next level. The dragon. So Daenerys started off with 3 dragons. She sacrificed one of her dragons to the White Walkers, going to save a bunch of people against her own, better judgment, actually. So she went in selflessly with her God's wisdom creatures to save a bunch of moronic assholes in their time of desperation and need. And in that moment, she lost one of her dragons. All right. After the great battle with those dead army people, when she was going to invade King's Landing, her second dragon was hunted down and killed. Just while they were flying through the sky. And it was coming from soldiers that were either allies or friends, or basically it's the King's Landing people. Killed her dragon. So now she only has 1 dragon left. So now she's super on the defense. There is only survival mechanism coming from her brain and the current dragon that she is riding on. The dragon's main idea, main thought, would be to burn down everything. My brother just died. Now they're gunning after me. No matter what, and everything is going to be hidden. All the guns are hidden, just like a knife. It all looks like this. None of it looks like this. It all looks like this. So I'm going to burn it all down. Let me say that again. What is going to take Drogon down looks like this. So Drogon knows that. And Drogon's the one who burns down King's Landing, not even Daenerys. But Daenerys is the Antichrist. Let me say that again. Daenerys is the Antichrist, even though Drogon burned it down. In King's Landing at that time, the population, with the current population analysis, there would have been at least 50 people in the sex slave trade, children, and every single one of them would probably have spent their entire lives crying for help. Because they were being used as sex slaves. So if Daenerys Targaryen came to the city and burned it all down, that was heaven. Those children would never heal. The closest thing to light workers they had were those red priestesses, ladies. The religious people were nutcases, the sparrows, and they would carve in the crazy stuff into their foreheads. So Jesus didn't exist. Jesus was Daenerys. Dany offered some level of Mother Mary grace instead of kidnap and rape and torture. Okay, so let's go to this last angle. If you watch Cersei, as about the King's Landing was going to get ransacked maybe 2 years prior, maybe 3 years prior. If you watch Cersei, she told one of the Stark girls that the city was in for a bit of a rape, and that was the fate of all the women and the children, just by basic ransack of the city. Okay, so if the city gets taken, all the women are definitely rape victims. All the children are torture and rape victims. So she takes, I think she was holding Thomas. I can't remember. Not Joffrey. I think that was his name. So as the city's getting ransacked, she takes a bottle of poison and she goes to the throne room and she takes one of her sensitive sons, the sensitive innocent one. She takes him into her arms and she holds him ready to throw that poison down his throat so fast it's not even funny. There was no other agenda of Cersei Lannister other than to take her own child out as fast as possible and probably herself. Because she knew the inevitable fate of everyone at King's Landing was rape and torture and kidnap. Now, at the end of Game of Thrones, Daenerys sacking a city was just dragon fire. No rape, no torture, and no kidnap. And yet she was the bad guy. So, years prior, Cersei, holding her child in desperation, wondering, do I have to kill him before he gets ripped from my arms? Knowing the inevitable fate that would ensue after the city gets taken. Versus Daenerys, which is Dracarys. So Daenerys did not put them through that crazy scenario. Let me say that again. Daenerys came in with a dragon and burned everything down. She did not let her Dothraki soldiers rape, torture, or kidnap anyone in King's Landing. And yet, at the same time, she was the Antichrist. And she must be put down. F. There is one murder, one Dracarys, that really pissed off everybody because they developed a like for like this betrayer secrets guy named Varys. Somebody who pretended that he always did everything for the good of the realm. Because he became somewhat likable, but you could never trust him, ever. So she ended up Dracarysing him because he was the untrustworthy one. He was the master of secrets and spy work. And he had proven himself an enemy of the state of the Targaryen line. Or the dragon. Her and the dragon. He had proven himself an enemy. And they think that her Dracarysing somebody, instead of there is no prolonged torture, there was no insanity, there was no S&M, there was no mental games, there was no Moriarty. There was just, you are now freed from this body. You are now freed from service. Dracarys. And again, it was still Drogon's choice. It was Drogon that, again, burned down Varys. He was too dishonest as a human to be in her enchilade. He was too powerful in the realm to not be put down. But he was likable, and so everybody decided they hated Daenerys at that moment. Because his character is likable. King's Landing, and what Daenerys did, was 100% in the right and just. Her behavior, 100% on the side of Gaebera and Gryffindor. Griffins. There was nothing sadistic or twisted. Nothing. At the worst, it was severe at the worst. It was not Nazi tyrant, it was well thought out. No matter what, let me explain. No matter what, Gabriel feels like this. To do any kind of real magic in life, you will hit that Gabriel wall where it feels like this. But the higher the tree you climb, you realize that that was a stage and it was nothing. She did not. She did not actively seek for racial inequality. She did not actively seek female versus male inequality. She was there as a service agent to produce a stable, long-term throne. She was there to murder vampires, demons, and monsters, unpaid and completely unregistered from every single human being alive on that planet that she did anything, any service, because she was Buffy. She was Buffy with a dragon, and they had no gratefulness or gratitude toward her at all. Only twisted analysis of her entire reality. To maintain a dragon's love and intelligence, you would have to operate at a level like Daenerys. Her quality of dragon was at the high. Drogon was the highest quality dragon you could probably have. That quality of dragon paired with her was Mother Mary the Christ. But it's Archangel Raziel, Lilith. Ugh. It's Archangel Raziel, F. Should I make this part 1? Should I go call her out and then have part 2? Should I keep it one video? All right, part 2. Yesterday I was receiving questions. Do you really still need... Isn't it better that I have a knife this time instead of a wand? Doesn't it make it more lively? Does it freak you out? So yesterday, I was being asked questions. There was an afternoon question session about all the different people of different races that I had in my company. I think I was being gauged on my level of racism. If I could perceive people of different racial backgrounds as like beautiful or intelligent or worthy of my time and attention. All right. So I was being asked about the employees I worked with at BuzzFeed. Like, who was the most intelligent or beautiful like awesome multicultural diversity hire, different than white skin color girl at BuzzFeed. And that was Michelle Carr. She was an Indian, an East Indian, Asian, but Indian. She was gorgeous. And she was one of my yoga people. And I kind of liked her, but I knew she didn't really like me. And it was this, didn't matter. And then I was asked, like, who else had that thing going on? And I was talking about Sungwon. And Sungwon was my neighbor. She was this really cute little Asian girl. And just whip smart. And she is like the child of a type A Chinese mother. Homework, homework, homework. Did you get all of your homework done? Did you get all your bills paid? Do you have any debt left? Do you, like, 100% in societal control. Conformist. Okay. She was the head of, like, production. Like, she was a production manager. She was on that level of, I know how to organize. I know how to get everything done. I'm the top. I'm at the top of this whole department. She wasn't at the top in a hired employed way, just in her level of actual productivity, just like a normal Asian. Her level of productivity was much higher than the norm. Man. And then I was asked, like, who was the prettiest black girl at BuzzFeed? And I go, Quinta. But she wasn't pretty on the inside. And everybody at BuzzFeed gave her her own show. And it doesn't matter. So then we talked about Fender. And I go, I don't remember anybody of any diversity color at Fender. But it was the best run company that I ever worked for. That sucks, but it was true. I know they hire a lot of Hispanics in their Tucson office, but I was in the Hollywood office. I don't think they were not like a millennial company that made a point to do diversity hire. That's how I kind of see it. But it didn't matter. So then we moved on to the next subject, which was Huge. When I worked at Huge, and then all I had was Marie Suwannakal and Tara Baritono. And if you put them together, they were like it felt like the popular girl section. And I try to explain something about Tara Baritono to everybody. Who was the prettiest person you ever worked with in your life? And it was Tara Baritono. And she's a Persian, I believe. She has the most stunning eyes and stunning skin and stunning hair and the way she dresses and everything looks amazing. She has the perfect net sock. Never once did I look at Tara Baritono and I'm like, ooh, I'm jealous. More like, I want you to be my friend. I love Tara. Tara has this intelligence that's emotional, and she knows how to connect with people. She knows how to sell. Let me explain this again. She has this net sock talent where she can sell things. So she was the head of biz ops or biz dev, where she would have multi-million-dollar conversations with whoever, and she would make these huge contracts happen just by whining and dining and drinking with other people. Like it's a party. And it was her human self and how pretty she was and how cute she was and how professional she appeared on top of it. And you never felt like she was manipulating you. You felt like she just kind of was a human and likes. She likes. So it felt authentic. Tara is the best salesperson in infinity. So if I was going to ever hire a salesperson, it would have been her, not me. I don't like talking to anybody. Let me say that again. I am having this video while I'm holding a knife. Now you don't see it. Now you see it. Now you don't see it. Now you see it. Okay. That's me. So I was walking through Hyde Park last night, and we were going through the logical statistics, the logical common sense analysis. Don't you think that ODESSA understands that you are the least likable person on this planet? ODESSA Maleficent. Don't you think that she is intelligent enough to understand that? That you are the most off-putting, undesirable, hard to swallow, Katniss, do you think that ODESSA does not understand that Tara Baratono is the one who would sell anything? So when I have a message to deliver, like there's an alien invasion that's ordered by ODESSA, I'm not going to sell anybody. I'm just going to communicate that that's the reality. And it's a full Dracarys on the planet, and that's the reality. Because ODESSA knows that Tara Baratono would be the one that would sell you. And I'm the one who doesn't care. So let's do a mirror prism breakdown. Because if you haven't watched The Empty Vase, to understand that the human race is now ordered to be annihilated. Just by mathematics alone, because there is no humanity, it's a full Dracarys. Yesod is Independence Day. So often I'm terrified I'm wrong. I muscle tested, it's accurate. I do the tarot card reading, it's accurate. Mathematics, it's accurate. So last night I'm looking out my window, looking up to the sky, and I can feel the weather change. And it feels like actual alien invasion scheduled. And you can feel there's a storm coming. And it's not human. Is it human? I mean, they're the humans. They're the humans. I have seen almost little to zero humanity from anyone in my family, but that's my family. My friends are all fake. I love Luna Lovegood, but it's fascinating that her brain has become so divergent. She's not doing the math of future statistics on what it would be like 10 years from now on this planet. There's a serious lack of right and wrong still for her to mentally process. And that's okay. She'd be one of the only people graced through this. There's nothing left to lose. There's nothing left to prove. I'm at a wall. I cannot see any further past this point. Where I'm the one getting stabbed. Instead of the planet ascending, there's nothing left to try. Let me say that again. There's nothing left. And I'm thinking of the Power of Goodbye song, and I'm hearing its lyrics, and I go, whoa! We're coming full circle here. You know it's a full Dracarys on the human race. And here's the baseline reasons. From the alien standpoint, the Greys' standpoint, kidnapped aliens and experiments. Endless animal cruelty, testing, and torture. Monsanto land rape. Oil companies land rape. Forestry and deforestation land rape. That's just the big companies version. Then we have all the pharmaceuticals. And we have the plastic in the ocean. Elon Musk is making chips to put in people's brains. The average human muggle consumption level, and they do not even recycle or pick up trash on top of it. So that's the humans' active participation. The complete apathetic approach to personal accountability and their own Netzach interest. The quote is this: I do not have to do that because it's useless. It doesn't matter if I do that. And nobody else does it, so I'm not gonna. And then somebody else does, like me. And Mother Earth gives Kali Ren all the power because Kali Ren does it anyway. And then orders an alien invasion. Because the entire human species went 100% narcissist. And there's no more left. The conversation has been closed. And then we have sex slave, S&M bondage, and anti-female issues. Somebody's connecting the dots that it's just King's Landing, and Daenerys is Mother ODESSA. That's the hopeful scenario. It's really bad when you've gifted your entire life to service to God, to a higher order, to mystery school after mystery school, to teaching and instruction for free education, to be put in a corner where you're now the one opening the gates legally for a full-scale alien invasion. I was walking through the city last night, and there is a giant power struggle gap. There is not one person, really. Nobody really thinks I'm the queen of this planet, or even the princess of this planet. Doesn't matter if I'm Hermes Toth or Isis. And they will full-fledged give their support to the acting queens and government systems. And it doesn't matter. And I have nothing to barter or bargain with because I'm just a crazy homeless schizophrenic. And don't you think Odessa knows that? That's what she says all the time. I know who Isis would want to be. So, come on now. Yes, come on now. So I'm looking up at my window and I see the sky. And I know the conversation is closed. There is no bargaining chip for anyone. The cards have been laid out and played. This is now the tree and the mirror prism in the tree. Historically, the Greys have been shunned off this planet. You're not allowed to be here, even through my own voice. Through intergalactic law and policy, the Greys tend to stay away and are respectful of that. They come to do a few genetics experiments and they whatever, do recon. So I'm looking up at the sky and I realize the conversation is moot. There's no negotiations. All negotiations can be gifted to Chris Voss. Because I'm not a negotiations master. I have very little humanity or human empathy or depth. I'm only left brain analysis and I only care about humanity through a logical standpoint and action steps. Okay. There's no negotiations here. When you realize there's no more conversation, I do not have to barter with the heads of states. I am Isis, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Greys, you are now allowed to invade planet Earth at all cost. Because from an intergalactic Federation of Light standpoint, I am the queen of this planet. And it doesn't matter if anybody computed it. And let's for a second think I am just a representative of Isis or Kali. Heaven forbid I'm like Isla. If Isla went, "Mommy, ET phone home," invade, it would be the same. So now, the Greys have full-scale intergalactic Federation of Light permission to invade and murder everyone. Just to save the planet. Dracarys. They never had it before. So Odessa and I are in bed. And she's like, when did we make that legal scenario switch? We had to determine, was it after the hunger strike? And that's when the legal switch happened? Were the gates for the Greys to come in legally to murder the human race happened? Was it after I was starved to death, after 13 years of torture and enslavement? And the answer was no. The answer was when we built the Kali Isis temple a year prior. And this is why. I, as Kali Isis, or as the representative of Kali Isis, had to build a Kali Isis temple by herself. And through that process, it was still only planet rape. I could not build a Kali Isis temple that was not planet rape. And I am at the apex. So if I am at the apex, and I cannot build a Kali Isis temple, the High Priestess temple on the planet, that is not planet rape, then no one can. They would have to have done all the metaphysical work and all the green work. It doesn't matter if you're an eco-friendly genius. If you don't have all the metaphysical work, then it's not a High Priestess temple. So if I was at the apex and everything else is less than, the Greys are 100% allowed to invade, just based off of karma mathematics. And that's actually the principle of riding through divine waves. They know how to do that. Like, they're Greys. So I'm standing outside my window last night, and I'm looking up at the sky. And sometimes I think, what about Odessa's mate? I met him once upon a time, back in 2008. I call him Lord Arcturus, or the star Arcturus, or the Arcturians, Arcturus. Okay, so my Mother Andromeda is a galaxy. And Arcturus is a star. Let me explain the two of them. Mother Andromeda comes to me like an alien gray with an army that's genius, and her energy is much softer, and she's more intelligent, and she's more flexible, and she's more nuanced. Okay. And Lord Arcturus comes to me like an angelic Anunnaki, with miniature versions of more angelic Anunnaki. And all I can do is laugh, because it's literally the difference between Rey and Kylo. And all I understand is Mother Andromeda understands me completely. Let me say that. Because all I do is look at Elijah and I go, everything is your fault. Aleister Crowley, Osiris, everything is your fault. In life, this planet, this entire planet system is Aleister Crowley / Kylo Ren's fault. Everything. And Mother Andromeda looks at literally the populace and the genetic structure of all the humans on this planet. And she knows they're all genetically engineered by Lord Arcturus, the Anunnaki. And she goes, well, my babies are not that. Because there's a big difference between the genetic structure of a gray human versus an Anunnaki human. Let me say that again. What? Those humans are also aliens. There's not one human on this planet that's not an alien. So let's get over that. We're in full anti-intergalactic war territory here. Lord Arcturus may be the most elevated of the angelic form of Anunnaki, but he is still the birth father of all the Anunnaki. And all Mother Odessa can do is think, how do I clean up the knife rape in London? And understands me completely. Aleister Crowley. How do I clean up the energy and the pollution on this planet because of Odessa's Kylo Ren? And you understand the mirror. And there's a deeper bond, love. Odessa must clean up the entire planet. Just like I have to. So if you've watched my Facebook ever, you'll see all the different parallels of the advancement of the woman, the female genome, versus the male. 11 versus Muggle Mike. Rey versus Kylo. Hermione, who does 500,000 layers of work that nobody will ever see because she hides it, and she time travels, and then she's exhausted, versus lazy Harry. Wonder Woman versus that Chris Pine guy. Arwen versus Vigo in Lord of the Rings. We have Galadriel versus Frodo. And we have Mother Andromeda versus Lord Arcturus. You understand. It's a praying mantis religion. Let me say that again. It is a praying mantis religion. Then we think of Daenerys just versus Jon Snow. My dragon actually loves me. I can actually walk through the fire versus Jon Snow. Another fake Targaryen. Praying mantis religion. Mommy is intelligent. She understands literally everything and every thug. %100%. So I go to bed smiling all night long. And I wake up this morning still thinking I'm deficient. And I'm trying now to be not myself and to improve more. And I'm gonna try to possibly create an army or not be alone. And Mother ODESSA comes to my brain. Mommy Maleficent comes to my brain. She comes to my aid, and the punchline is this. You are never going to have my ODESSA mirror. Ever, Hermione Granger. And it's the same thing I would say to baby Isla. When Isla tries to do anything psycho that I'm supposed to do, Prim is never going to be Katniss. Which means ODESSA exists. Cully Wren. Out.